Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shankwaya One Vision Ministry. Okay. Today I want to talk on tall, dark, and handsome. Tall, dark, and handsome. Abiyah, thank you for the Shabbat. Thank you for this opportunity to edify. May some I guess some questions come about. May some comprehension and thought. May we jump off of autopilot and start using the brains that you've given us to challenge not just what I say, but challenge what others have said to us, to move forward, open to your Ruach, so that you can give us clear comprehension of your will, your way, and what you are doing. Yada Yahuwah. So I'm going to start today off with some terminologies first, set some things in order with that, and then I'm going to go forward with the message or the Tanakh and the Brit Hadashah. So let's get going. Let's move on. The first definition I want to share, I believe, is necessary so people can see that this is not a derogatory term, but some people make it to be such. So the first thing we're going to deal with is semantics. Semantics is the branch of linguistics and logic concerned with meaning. So basically, the meaning of what a word really is. There are a number of branches of sub branches of semantics, including formal semantics, which studies the logical aspects of meaning, such as sense, reference, implication, and logical form, lexical semantics, which studies word meanings as and word relations, and conceptual semantics, which studies the cognitive structure of meaning. All right, so let's keep moving. I want to deal with what we would call an idiom. The origin of the phrase tall, dark, and handsome. The phrase tall, dark, and handsome is an English idiom. We Hebraic, but it's an English idiom. So you can call it like slang or a phrase that means something different than what it's actually stating. Describing an idealized, physically attractive man. I'm 6'4" and I'm dark. My wife would consider me handsome. But this is not what they meant. But let's keep going. Typically tall with dark hair. My hair is missing on top, but I used to be dark. Or complexion and good looks. It has roots in early 20,000 century romantic fiction and became a cultural shorthand for a certain archetype of male beauty. Let me skip over to here. Meaning and cultural context. Traditionally, tall, dark, and handsome describes a man who is taller than average, has dark hair or sometimes a darker complexion, and possesses features considered attractive. Now, palm skin people use this term to really, they try to say it's talking about them. But where are they dark? The dark element often implied mystery or exotic appeal rather than strictly skin color. Over time, the phrase has been used both seriously and humorously, sometimes ironically, reflecting changing societal standards of male beauty. In some cultures, the emphasis on dark has shifted, as in India, where tall, light, and handsome is commonly idealized. So they kind of want to stay away from the skin color aspect. They want to. Okay. Summary. The phrase tall, dark, and handsome evolved from early 19th century literary descriptions to widely recognized romantic archetype in the 20th century. I'm gonna go off a little bit off script here. They used to consider a person that was tall, dark, and handsome, they would have olive skin. And yet, if you look at the olives, olives come from green to a dark black, or what we call black. I'm using the term black right now for this discussion, but I don't really like that term either. I'm going to talk about that today. The color that we've been labeled or shown is black. So we don't see any green people. We see brown people, but they say olive skin. The Hebraic people are known or said to be of olive skin, but olives go from a nice hue of green to brown to a darker color, which modernly is called black. Let's keep moving. Negro. This word is basically established in the 1500s. It says a member of black or its dark-skinned race of Africa. See, they use that word black again. From Spanish or Portuguese, negro, they say black. From Latin, nigrum, nominative, nigger. That word is disruptive modernly. It should not be, but it has been a disruptive word. Black, again, I don't like that term. Dark, sable, dusky. Applied to the night sky, a storm, the complexion. Figuratively, gloomy. Now, this is when it gets to the derogatory. Unlucky, bad, wicked. According to Devon, a word unknown etymology. According to Watkins, perhaps from pi, newt, night. The Latin word also was applied to melanin peoples, or it says black again, of Africa, but the usual terms were Ethiops, which is Ethiopia, or Afar, like Africa. Those were the terms that were used before these colonizers gave us a different word. That's my take, I should say. So I'm gonna take that liberty and say I added that. As an adjective from the 1590s, used with a capital N became general early 20th century, 1930 in the New York Times style book in reference to the U.S. citizens of African descent, but because of its perceived association with white imposed attitudes and roles, the word was ousted late 1960s in the sense of by melanin people or what they call black. So they stopped using the word Negro. Let's keep going. Negus or niggas. Niggas. Negus. You know, we've heard of the NWA, that's Niggas, but this is pronounced niggas, negus, or negus, negus. It's all about whoever's speaking it. But this is the title of a ruler of Abyssinia, 1590s, from Amharic or Abraham, Semitic, negus, king, from the stem of Nagasha, he force ruled. This is a positive term, niggas. But when you mock somebody, you make it into a derogatory. This is a positive term. Let's keep moving. Nigger, Niger. See, we've been told how to pronounce this, so, you know, Some will say nigger, some will say Niger. It's an African nation named for the river Niger, mentioned by that name again, 1500s, 1520s, Leo Africanus, the man that they give credit for Africa being named after. Probably an alteration by influence of Latin niger, meaning black or the color, the melanin color, of a local Tuareg name, Igurius, Irigu, Nigaravu. I'm having a hard time pronouncing that. From the Irigu, Big River, Sea, Nigirun, plural, of the word translated in Arabic as Nahar, Na'al-Anhar, rivers of rivers. Okay, let me keep moving. All right. The word Negro originates from the Latin word nigger, meaning black, melanin, and entered English via Spanish and Portuguese to describe people of African descent. Linguistic origins. The term Negro comes from the Spanish and Portuguese Negro, which literally means melanin, or what they say black, derived from the Latin nigger nominative and nigrum accusative, meaning black, dark, or dusky. The Latin word may trace back to the Proto-Indo-European root nuke or nuk, meaning night or dark. In the 1550s, European explorers and traders used Negro to describe dark-skinned peoples of Africa, particularly the Bantu. Let me hear it said, particularly the Bantu, particularly the Bantu. If you've done any studies, anybody who's studied and know what the Bantu is and know that they have a connection to the Hebraic people that we know as Israel, the true Israel. Bantu population encountered by the Portuguese in South Africa. Let's keep going. Origin of black and blank. The words black and blank share a deep Indo-European root, but evolved along different paths, reflecting the dual nature of blankness. What is blank? It's basically nothingness or without any substance. As both absence of color and absence of life. Absence of color. Look at me. I'm in a little small frame there. Let me just close this just for a second so you can see me. Do I have an absence of color? Hmm. Okay. Let's keep going. Let me go back. Let me go back. Share my screen. All right. Again, absence of color and light. Old English, black, absolutely dark, absorbing all light, of color of soot or coal. Proto-Germanic, black as, burnt. Proto-Indo-European, black, meaning to burn, gleam, shine, flash. The sense of black comes from the idea of something burnt or absorbing all light. In Old English, black could also mean pale or colorless. Many don't want to hear this, but there was a time that those palm skin people, I say palm skin because they look more like the color of my palm than white. They are pale people and no defined color, but they have a color. But they were the ones that were called black. Black, if you go to any cultural hierarchy, is usually at the bottom and white is at the top. It would not deal with the skin color, but it dealt with a class system. Black would be the lowest and white would be the highest. deal nothing with skin color at all. Okay. In some contexts, but the dominant sense was dark. Okay. Related from the black, pale, and blank to whiten. Black and blank are connected to whiten, showing the same root but opposite shades. That's, but okay. Old French blank, white shining, blank, white gleaming, but let me let me move on. I'll keep moving. Why black is often linked to death or north nothingness. I myself try to keep the word black out of my mouth when talking about people and talking about myself. I view it as a curse word. The power of death and life is in the tongue, and so you shouldn't speak certain things towards yourself. If it's nothingness, the people of Yah are more than nothing. We are full of his image. So nothingness could not even give a good description of us at all. But it says the association of black with death or nothingness come from both literal and symbolic sources. Literal connection to death. In many cultures, black is used in mourning and in funerals, symbolizing the end of life and the absence of light. This is because death is often seen as cessation of visible light, leaving only darkness. How can you be a bearer of light and be black? Good question. Philosophically, thinkers like Epicurus and Socrates describe death as eternal oblivion, the complete absence of consciousness, akin to dreamless sleep. In a sense, black becomes a metaphor for the void after life. We're supposed to be seeking life after this life. Okay, I'm gonna read the symbolic and then I'm gonna move forward again. I'm gonna start getting into the text. Symbolic and cultural meanings across traditions, black represents the absence of light, which is why it is often linked to the unknown void, the end of existence. In spiritual context, it can symbolize the primordial void between creation, the inner shadow, or the space between life and death. In African symbolism, black can also represent ancestral connection and spiritual energy, but in Western tradition, it is often carries connotations of mourning, mourning fires grief, judgment, and spiritual darkness. Okay, let's get moving. We're going into Yah's word. Bereshit, Genesis 2. And Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils breath of lives, and man became a living being. Let me stop this for a second. Cut screen. Okay, let's use our thinkers. We say that, or we've been taught that creation began in Africa. Of course, we're here in America, but we have dirt or earth here. You go anywhere and you pick up dirt, and in your hands, what color is it? It's a hue of brown, right? You don't see palm skin dirt really. Sand, maybe, but dirt, dust is brown. So if you're making a structure or a container out of this dust and dirt, what's the likelihood that the color of that container would be similar to the ingredients that it's made of? What's Come on, just use your brain a bit and think on that. Let's move on. I just want to place that there. The man was brought. and made out of the dust, the dirt of the earth. Let's keep moving. All right. Bereshit, Genesis 50. Now, I'm going here because Africa is a very hot place. The sun is beating down on it and it's very, very much desertous place. If I was to pull up pictures of the hieroglyphs, which I probably should, but I'm not, because now they've started changing them. But if you go to the Egyptian hieroglyphs, you see on the walls there, people who have visited, the people that are depicted in those hieroglyphs are very brown, almost looking like the dirt that I just described. That you pick up dirt with your hands, no matter how dry it is, it's still brown. But you put water, which water is life, you see how dark it gets. Those hieroglyphs show brown people. Even their slaves or people that they had under their hand or bondage were brown as well. But let's read here. Starting off with verse 7 from Bereshit or Genesis 50. And it says, And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Mizraim. So this was all of Israel. All of those that have went with Joseph and that came from his father's house. His father has died. He's going to bury him. So this is mostly a funeral of an Israelite, a funeral of Yaakov, who was called Israel. And all the house of Joseph and his brothers and his father's house, only their little ones and their flocks. So just the children didn't come, but all of the adults and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. So now they may have been outnumbered, may have been, but the focal point of this ceremony would be them. A whole bunch of Egyptians or Mizrahites went with them, but let's keep going. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Yarden, and they lamented there with a great and very heavy lamentation. And he performed 7 days of mourning for his father. So again, he's a focal point. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor, if you have 12 brothers and all of the men that come from them around this threshing floor, the focal point being them, the Mizrahites likely are not going to be in that circle there. They may be around it, but just like even modern funerals, the family is closest. And the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor. So they focused on the threshing floor of Atad. And they said, This is a grievous mourning for the Mizrahites. They didn't say the Israelites, the Mizrahites. They're thinking these Egyptians. Again, they're going off of what they visually see. Mizrahites are what? Brown people. These people with them wasn't olive color or green. They were stood out. These people were similar in color. That is why his name is called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond the Yarden. Let's keep moving. And just for let me stop for a minute. I know somebody's going to ask, well, why are you focusing on color? The focus on color come about because I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I'm gonna go back to where I'm the physical representation of Yahusha, or who the world calls Jesus, has always been a palm-skinned man. That's who we were given. The book doesn't describe that, but that's what was given. What your eyes see, it affects your thoughts. What someone has told you, it affects your thoughts. The reason why I'm telling you this information is because there was some misinformation given, and only way you deal with lies or misinformation is present truth. If color never mattered, they would have never represented themselves as the people of Yahusha, or they would have never represented Jesus as that. It was done to condition and for control. I'm not trying to condition you or control you. Trying to break you from conditioning and control. Because skin color does not define superiority. There's information in it, though. Yeah. I'm gonna read something from my notes or whatever. I didn't put it on my screen or anything, but I'm gonna read something. You know, you know, I post on Facebook a lot, so I did post something on Facebook, and so I'm gonna go over to my notes a little bit and just veer for a second. It says a recessive gene is a genetic variant that only shows its trait when an individual inherits two copies of the mutated or variant gene. Brown skin is not a recessive gene. Palm skin is. Yet we've been told that they are the dominant culture. But how can you have a recessive gene that, if you mingle it with this gene, this will dominate? But yet you're saying that you're superior. You have to protect that. The only way that your gene represents is to have two copies of the mutated variant. Let me keep going. One of the one from each biological parent. If an individual inherits only one copy, they act as an unaffected carrier of the gene, while the dominant gene takes over and is expressed instead. So if I have that recessive gene in me and my wife have a recessive gene in her, we can produce a child that shows the recessive. But if she has none, no recessive gene, what's going to dominate? You got to get this. This is their information. They put this out there, but they've always taught us different, and we never challenge what we've been taught. Doesn't make a person superior because of this skin color. Now, what's in here can make a person, what's in your mind. Use your mind. All right. I'm not going to read the rest of the definition because that's something that you can look into, recessive genes. But let's get back to the reading, because I'm not trying to alter or give a bias or whatever. I'm just trying to show information, and you can take it how you want. Okay. Shemot, Exodus 2. Let's go here. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. Pharaoh is a Mizraite, an Egyptian. And her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it, and opened it and saw the child, and see, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the children of the Hebrews." At that time, Pharaoh was killing off the Hebrew boys. So that's why she knew that this child was a Hebrew. Was the child of different color than her? Was his pigment different? That's a good question to ask. But let's keep going and let's see what the information that's in the book lines up to say. You got to have context, you got to put things together. And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the young woman went and called the child's mother. She knew who the child's mother was. They knew. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me. Then I shall pay your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. Now, how this child gonna become her son? If Pharaoh's getting rid of Hebrew boys, if he looks somewhat different, you're like, hold on, that ain't what's going on. But no, she took this boy as her son. Oh, you could say, oh well, she just adopted him. But if he's getting rid of Hebrew boys and he knows specifically that they look different, he would. I'm just using my mind. And she called his name Moshe, saying, "Because I have drawn him out of water." All right, I'm gonna skip past. I'm gonna move forward. Shemot, Exodus 2, verse 16. And it says, "And the priest of Midian." I know, I just gotta always go here. Midian, Abraham in Keturah, he had a son named Midian, and this is one of his descendants. So this Midian is still of the Abraham lineage. The same lineage that the Hebrews are from, Midian is from. So, all right, has 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. Now remember, I just said that Pharaoh's daughter took Moses in, and we could say he was adopted. Does this read? If he could, oh, he could have looked lighter. He could have been different. Let's keep going. And they came to Ruel, their father. This is the Midianite father. And he said, "How is it that you come so soon today?" And they said, "A Mizraim." Huh? An Egyptian rescued us from the hand of the shepherd. And he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock. Now you could say, okay, maybe it's clothing or whatever. I don't know. And he said to his daughters, "And where is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him and let him eat bread." And Moshe agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah, his daughter, to Moshe. This man is identified as a Mizraim, an Egyptian, by these daughters. It ain't like it didn't. Okay, well, they had a conversation. He told him he was an Egyptian, I guess. They don't say none of that. So I'm not going to even imply that, okay, they didn't have a conversation or they did. But they identified him as a Mizraim. And then now, this great grandson of Abraham is giving his daughter over to a great grandson of Abraham and Moshe. Same families. So they must look like Egyptians too. But let me keep going. Shemot, Exodus 4. And Yahuwah said to him again, "Now put your hand in your bosom." This is Moses. Moses, an Israelite. This olive color man or whatever, maybe palm skin, huh? But put your hand in your bosom. So put your hand in your shirt, in your cloak, in your robe. And he put his hand in his bosom, and when he took it out and see, his hand was leprous, like snow. It came out, palm skin, white. If it was already white, how's it gonna come out white? Am I tripping? Am I am I tripping? And he said, put your hand in your bosom again. So he put his hand in his bosom again and drew it out of his bosom, and see, it was restored like his other flesh. It was distinctly, come on, when a palm skin person gets real pale, they still look pale. But it's a distinct thing when if it was to happen to somebody that looked like me. If I pulled out, look like, what the heck? What's wrong there? I mean, palm skin person could just press their hand down, and the pressure would get the blood out of that area, and you're like, oh, okay. It don't look, it ain't nothing surprising, it ain't nothing scary. It ain't gonna startle you. But somebody look like me to go to that color, oh, it's an extreme. All right, let me get back. Let me get back. Ooh, okay. Bimidbar, number 12. Now Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe because of the Cushite woman who he had taken. Cushite, Cushite. Man, if I was to go to I'm going to switch this over to parallel just for a second and change this over to King James. King James, right there. Oh, Ethiopian, Cushite, Ethiopian. Now, most anybody you ask will say that the Ethiopians are brown, dark brown people. That's not even with any debate. So they was arguing with him about the Cushite woman. So let me turn off this parallel because I don't need that. Now Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe because of the Cushite woman whom he had taken, for he had taken a Cushite woman. Now Zipporah was a Midianite. They could, are they talking about her? If they are, they talking about because of her look. She looked like a Cushite woman. What's a Cushite woman? Brown skin. Zipporah is a descendant of Midian, who's a descendant of Abraham. The culture, how they operate may be different, but her skin, brown. So a lot of people will tell you that this is talking about Zipporah. I read other books that said that he had an Ethiopian woman too, though, but because he was also made king over Ethiopia in another book, but people don't acknowledge that. So let's keep moving. And they said, has Yahuwah spoken only through Moshe? Has he not also spoken through us? And Yahuwah heard it. And the man Moshe was very humble, more than all men who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly Yahuwah said to Moshe and Aaron and Miriam, you three come out of the tent of appointment. So the three came out. And Yahuwah came down in a column of cloud and stood in the door of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both went forward. And he said, hear now my words. If your prophet is of Yahuwah, I make myself known to him in a vision, and I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moshe. He is trustworthy in all my house. I speak with him mouth to mouth, and plainly, and not in riddles. And he sees the form of Yahuwah. So why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moshe? And the displeasure of Yahuwah burned against them, and he left. And the cloud turned away from the above the tent, and look, Miriam was leprous. Remember, Moses just put his hand in and it came out looking leprous. This woman, if she was already white or palm skin, she was leprous, as white as snow. And Aaron turned toward Miriam, and look, a leopard. It wasn't common to see somebody white because these is brown people. They was already tripping out about him and this brown woman he had, and it wasn't because of her skin color. It was because her cultural how she operated. But of course, you're gonna say I'm adding that. But they got a problem with this white woman. Miriam has become a white woman. She was white. Oh, didn't say she was sickly. It just said she turned white as snow. Just like his hand. He warp operated for Yah, so he wasn't sickly when he put his hand in and pulled it out. It just turned white, white as snow. And Aaron turned toward Miriam and said, "Look, a leper." And Aaron said to Moshe, "Oh, my master, please do not hold against us the sin in which we have done foolishly, in which we have sinned. Please do not let her be as one dead when coming out of her mother's womb. Man, when babies come out of the womb, they be light in the mud. And the dead ones, anyway, because so even my children who are brown came out lighter. Sometimes some children, the brown children, come out light, so light you be like, man, who's the mother messing with? But but let me oh man, let me keep moving. Now I want to deal with something. Going back up, going up. Cushite. So let's look. Cushy or Cushite. There are people called Cushy in the book, but in most Hebraic names was a description of the person. But let's keep going. Cushi refers to a person of African descent. Historically, a Cushite or Ethiopian in modern usage can be considered a racial term, biblical and historical meaning. In the Hebrew Bible, Cushi denotes a Cushite or Ethiopian, a descendant of Cush, the son of Ham. Ham. Ham is the father of Egypt or Mizraim. Ham is the father of Cush. Libya comes from there. Kedar. Hmm. Another word that means dark. Hmm. Who lived in the region south of Egypt along the Upper Nile, corresponding to modern day Sudan and parts of East Africa. The term appears in the biblical passage such as 2 Samuel 18:21 through 32, where a Cushi serves as a messenger to King David, and Jeremiah 36:14 and Zephaniah 1 and 1. I'm gonna go to those two, referring to individuals of Cushite lineage. Is it really talking about those of Cushite lineage on those two? Let's go. Let's go. Historically, is neutral, deceptive descriptor for people from the kingdom of Cush. But let's go. Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah 36:14. Then all the heads sent Yahudi, son of Nethanyahu, son of Shelemiah, son of Cushi, to Baruch, son of Cushi, son of take in your hand the scroll from which you have read in the hearing of the people and come. So Baruch, son of Neriyahu, took the scroll in hand and came to them. Cushi. Let's go to Zephaniah. Zephaniah. The word of Yahuwah which came to Zephaniah, son of Cushi. Zephaniah is a prophet of Israel. Remember, it just tried to say that Cushi was Ethiopian. This is not an Ethiopian. It's describing this man. The word of Yahuwah which came to Zephaniah, son of Cushi, son of Gadaliah, son of Amariah, son of Hezekiah, in the days of Yashiyahu, son of Ammon. Yashiyahu, that's Isaiah. Sovereign of Yehuda. Cushi. Cushi. It's a brown person. It's descriptive of him. Looked like an Ethiopian. Cushi. Let's keep going. Matthew Yahoo, Matthew 2, what's called verse 13. It says, and when they had left, see, a messenger of Yahuwah appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise, take the child and his mother, and flee to Mizraim, and remain there until I bring you word, for Herodes is about to seek the child to destroy him. Now again, if Israelites were palm skinned, you gonna send this child as wanted to Mizraim. He gonna flee to Mizraim. Would he not stand out if he was of different color? Like amongst all those negus, he would stand out. But he was able to hide in Mizraim. People say, "Oh, that's not what that means." All right, man, it be sounding like, looking like, but they say, "No, that's not what it is." Cut your brain off, and oh, it can't mean that. All of these different things can't mean that. Naming people named Cushy. We do it now. Come on now. How many times? I don't like the term black, but we done all had, all my melanin friends probably done had somebody that we don't call black. One of my close friends, Jabbar, we called him black because he was so dark. Come on. It's something that Negroes do, or, we point out the dark one. What up, black? Got a coworker. His last name black, but he black. Man, let me keep going. Whew. Okay. Rising up, he took the child and his mother by night and departed to Mizraim. So let's go to the next. Marcus or Mark 15. And they compelled a passerby, Shimon, a Syrian, coming from the field, the father of Alexander and Rufus, to bear estate. Man, if I ain't never heard a Negro named Rufus, sure enough sound like a Negro name. But check out that Syrian, Cyrenian. Man, Cyrenian, what is that? Let's look at the definition. Cyrenians or Cyrene is an ancient Greek and Roman city. Oh, so that right there was like, oh man, there's got to be Pomsky. Located near modern town of Shahat in northeastern Libya. Man, you got to remember that these Romans and Greeks, they were all over northern Africa. But this is Libya within the region of Syria. So this is a Libyan man. Cyrene lies in the ridge of Jebel Akhdar uplands, approximately 8 miles southwest of the Mediterranean port of Mars Susha in northeastern Libya, North Africa. Mm, right there by Egypt. Them folks look like Egyptians, but let's keep going. Messiah, Acts 13. Let's go. Just talk about Shimon. Is this the same Shimon? Let's go. And Messiah Acts 13, it says, in the assembly that was in Antioch. I got to do a rabbit trail. Most people focus on Antioch because that term Christian supposed to came up, but they don't realize Antiochus is who this place is named after. And the first Christians came about way before this city was created because there was Serapis worshippers who were called the bishops of Christ. But Antiochus is the same one. If you read in the Maccabees, who forced them to eat pork and stuff like. Anyway, Rabbit Trail, go look that up on your own. Let's move back here. And in the assembly that was at Antioch, there were certain prophets and teachers, both Barnabas and Shimon, who was called nigger. Why they call him that? Oh, I just said my friend Jabbar, they called him black. We called him black. They called this man nigger because he was dark skinned. And Lucius of Cyrene. So hold on. Libya again. We hear the biblical terms a lot of times and are not able to connect them to modern day because we don't study. We stop there. But I just got through showing that Cyrene is Libya. Well, in my mind clicks to Muammar Gaddafi or whatever, who was African. He was a light-skinned brother, but he was a brother. He was African. He was likely Shemitic. But hey, they'll say all of this message is anti-Semitic, but I'm obvious Semitic. It's not obvious about the other people, but let's keep going. And in the assembly that was in Antioch, there were certain prophets and teachers, both Barnabas and Shimon, who was called nigger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manahem, who had brought up who had been brought up with Herodes, the district ruler, and Shaul. Good point. Shaul's connected with these people. Shaul is who we call Paul when we read it in English. Let's keep going. I'm gonna go to the next. Messiah, Acts 21. And Shaul was about to be led into the barracks. He said to the commander, am I allowed to say somewhat to you? And he said, do you know Greek? So the man is hearing Shaul or Paul speaking Greek. Because if you know your Bible, you know that Paul is a Greek citizen, but he's also a Yahudim. So he's a city of Yahuda. I mean, a resident or a citizen of Yahuda too. He's from the tribe of Benjamin. But this is a key right here. Are you not the Mizraim who some time stirred up revolt and led the 4,000 assassins out into the wilderness? How in the world is he confused if he's palm skin, confusing him with a Mizraim? He spoke in Greek. What would connect him to Mizraim? This man is looking at him. He don't know him, but he's connecting him to something that a Mizraim did because of what? I guess I'm implying that he looked at him and seen his face. He looked like a Mizraim. Are you not the Mizraim who some time ago stirred up a revolt and led 4,000 assassins into the wilderness? But Shaul replied, I am a Yahudi from Tarsus. So, oh yeah, I might look like a Muslim, but I'm a Yahudi. A Yahudi. In that KJV, it would say, I am a Jew. Not Jewish, but a Jew from Tarsus. In the Kilkiah, a citizen of no mean, and I beg you, allow me to speak to the people. This, as modern, some people would say Jew, but this Yahudi was identified as a Mizraim. Why? Gotta ask yourself, why? He looking at him. Look at him. Let's keep moving. Shaphatim, Judges 16. I'm basically done with what I was showing, but this is just like bonus material right here. Shaphatim 16:13. So Delilah said to Samson, until now you have mocked me and spoken lies to me, revealed to me how you might be bound. And he said to her, if you weave the 7 locks of my head with the web. Locks. What people lock their hair? I don't know any palm skin people that do that as a cultural thing. They may do it as imitation, but we can't even get jobs some places if our hair is locked. We're discriminated against if our hair is locked. There's a problem with locked hair. But culturally, one group of people still, on a regular, lock their hair. All right, let me jump to another um I guess another added source or whatever. Is these are more so honorable mentions or whatever. So I'm gonna go to another honorable mention here because a lot of people will say this is symbolism, but again, I'm okay with that. Hazon, Revelations 1. All right, I'm gonna start with 12. It says, "And I turned to see the voice which spoke with me." He turned to see the voice, to see the voice. And having turned, I saw seven golden lampstands, and in the midst of seven lampstands, one like the son of Adam, son of man, dressed in a robe, down to the feet, and girded about the chest with a golden band. And his head and hair were white as white wool. So it's not saying it felt like white wool or looked like it, it was just white like it. So, okay, I get that. It's not saying that his hair was woolly, but it was white as wool. So it was white. Gray hair. My chin, I can stop the screen for a minute. White. So it don't have to mean that it was look like wool. It was just look white like wool. So let's keep going. And his eyes, a flame of fire. Hmm, okay. Was it fire in there? Or just look red? But his feet were like burnished brass. I have not seen a palm skin person's feet look like brass unless they were tanned. Because they do tan and look like us, whatever. But his feet was burnished with brass. So this is just an honorary mention. Because I didn't need this for the context of what I was sharing. I'm just adding it because I know that some people use this. I don't need this. Just still sharing it. All right, let's jump on. I'm gonna hit something in my honorary mention just to let it sizzle out there. So the KJV says this in Revelations 2 and 9. I know thy tricks. I don't know. It says, I know thy works. Oh, not tricks. Oh, let me say it right. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Let's read that in the TS 2009. It says, I know your works and pressure and poverty, yet you are rich, and the blasphemy of those who say they are Yahudim, the Yahudi, and are not, but are a congregation of Satan. Now, a person could be labeled anti Semitic for giving information. It's obvious I'm Semitic. It's people in the land. That verse right there, who does it fit? You be the judge. They say color doesn't matter, but yet they presented a palm skin, Caesar Borgia looking dude, and said that was the Messiah. That man would, if he was to be in that area, in that region, uncovered, would have the worst skin cancer or skin sunburn or whatever, come on. Just 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 stop it. Just stop it. Abiyah, thank you for this Shabbat. Thank you for this opportunity. Not trying to bring forth any superiority to skin color, just want to bring forth truth. May your truth rest on those that have heard this, and may some sift through and even challenge. Do so in a way that's respectful, but do so in a way that shows forth study and diligence to find forth the truth so that your will can be done on earth as it is in the Shamayim. I thank you for this Shabbat, this day of rest. Thank you for this opportunity to stand before your people. May your love, your ahava, rest on us all. May we operate in your Baruch. Shabbat Shalom, Yada Yahuwah, Shankwil Yah, Shankwila Carter, One Vision Ministry, Ikai Chajan Sheriff. Shabbat Shalom. Ahava.